Welcome to another beginner-friendly tutorial. In this video, I'll walk you through how to call external APIs and integrate third-party systems using Langflow. To demonstrate this, I've set up a simple product form. You can type in details like the product name, price, or description, and then click the Add Product button. Normally, this triggers a direct call to dummy.json's Add Product API, which adds the item to the database. Let's see how it works. I'll fill in some sample product details. Click Add Product, and you can see that the API call is being made successfully. Instead of always calling the API directly from the form, we can use a Langflow webhook to handle the request. This gives us more flexibility because we can connect the result of the API call to other systems. I've started the Langflow app locally and created a blank flow. To connect this flow with my UI, I need an entry point, so I'll use the webhook component. Next, I'll rename the flow to something more meaningful, so it clearly represents the task we're trying to accomplish. Now, to trigger the flow from my app using the webhook, I'll copy the endpoint provided in the webhook component of our flow. Then I'll replace the direct call to the dummy.json Add Product API with this webhook endpoint. Let's test it out. I'll click the Add Product button again, and this time the request is sent to our webhook instead of the API. And there we go. The data is successfully received in the webhook component inside Langflow. Now, to forward the request to the dummy.json API, I'll use the pre-built API request component. From the dummy.json documentation, I'll copy the endpoint URL needed to add a product. Since this requires a post request, we'll forward the data we receive from the webhook as the request body. Looking at the API request component, you'll notice there are several options to customize how the request is sent. For this example, I'll enable the body option and connect the data output of the webhook to the body input of the API request component. Let's test it out. I'll trigger the flow again, and this time the API request is made directly through Langflow. As we can see, the call to the Add Product endpoint is successful, returning a 201 created response. This confirms our integration is working, and now we can extend it further. Now, to parse the API response, I'll use the built-in parser component to extract the status code. With that in place, I'll add an if-else component to check whether the status code equals 201. To make this more useful, I'll configure the controls of the if-else component. For the case true property, I'll enter a message that will be passed forward in the flow whenever the condition is met. Next, I'll set up the case false property, where I'll type the message that should be passed if the status code does not equal 201. This way, the flow can handle both successful and unsuccessful API calls, giving us clear logic for the next steps. Now let's set up Slack. For this tutorial, I'll create a new channel called Products Added, where we'll receive messages whenever a product is successfully added. This channel will serve as our notification space, making it easy to confirm that the integration between Langflow and Slack is working as expected. Now let's connect Langflow with our Slack channel. I'll search the component list for Slack and select the one that comes with the Composio bundle. You'll notice the Slack component is automatically populated with my Composio API key. To follow along, you'll need to create a Composio account and generate your own API key. Next, I'll select the Post Message to Channel action. Then I'll map the text output from the case-true branch of the if-else component to the message field of the Slack component. Since my Slack account is already connected, this looks instant. But if you're doing it for the first time, you'll need to go through the connection process. To show you how that works, I'll disconnect my Slack authentication. When I click the plug icon at the top right of the component, I'm redirected to Composio's authentication screen. Here, you'll grant access for Composio to connect with Langflow. Once the connection is successful, the plug icon turns green, confirming that the Slack component is ready to use. Now let's see the full integration end-to-end. I'll enter BMW M5 as the product name and click the Add Product button. The API call is made and the product is added successfully. Switching over to Slack, you can see the notification in our channel confirming the product addition. This shows that both steps are working together, the API request to add the product to the database, and the Slack notification to confirm the action. In this tutorial, we learned how to integrate external APIs with Langflow. We started by setting up a product form, replaced the direct API call with a Langflow webhook, and forwarded data through the API request component. We then parsed the response, added if-else logic, and connected Slack using Composio. Finally, we mapped successful requests to Slack messages and tested the full end-to-end flow. This shows how Langflow makes integrations modular, scalable, and simple. Thanks for watching. Now go with the flow, the Langflow.